Good afternoon, everyone. It is June 27th, 2024. It's 3:30 p.m. I am calling the Diversion Board of Authority to order. Could I get a roll call, please?
Mayor Carlson.
It's here.
Mayor Dardis.
Here.
Mayor Mahoney. Mr. Peterson.
I'm here.
Mr. Hendrickson. Mr. Peppercorn.
Here.
Mr. Ebinger.
Here.
Mr. Strand. Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mrs. Sherling.
Here.
Mr. Grimberg.
Here.
Mr. Olson.
Here.
Mr. Selgevold.
Here.
The quorum is present.
Thank you. Moving on, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the May 23rd, 2024 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to the approval of the order of the agenda. I do have one update. We're going to just move number 9 and put that in front of number 5 since our lands director needs to be meeting with somebody earlier than when we'll probably get to her if we keep her where she's at. So with that, could I have a motion to approve the order of the agenda, moving number 9 in front of number 5?
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda. You guys have had the opportunity, I would imagine, to look through the reports and the approvals and the agreements. Would be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Oh, this is roll call vote, sorry. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Yes.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Ebinger.
Aye.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherling.
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg.
Aye.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Selgevold.
Aye.
And that is everyone.
Thank you, and that motion carries. So on to our regular agenda, and we are moving to number 9, land management update. And I will turn this portion of the agenda over to Ms. Jody Smith.
Thank you, and thank you for accommodating my schedule this afternoon. So on the slide before you, you're going to see 2 maps. The one on the left, I'm proud to announce we finally closed on everything within the diversion channel. So that is complete. Our legal team was able to complete that. Yay, thank you. Everything on SE1 is done. Everything on SE2 is complete. Everything on SE3 is complete. And we have acquired all the property rights on SE4 and 5, although we do have some hearings still pending with commissioners in Minnesota. So the construction footprint, for the most part, has been secured. When we get further in the presentation, you'll see it. There's a couple remaining in the Oxbow, Hickson, and Baki area for the ring levy. I'm confident that those will be secured within the next 45 days. So on the screen to the right, or on the map to the right, you're going to see everything in green are the property rights that we have acquired. The majority of those blue parcels sitting in there are with a family, the Broadshogs. There's 26 of those parcels. That is scheduled to close tomorrow. So you're going to see the majority of those closing up on that right-hand map. Again, everything is highlighted in orange is in eminent domain. And I know that our legal team filed most of the eminent domains within Wilkin County this afternoon. So at the next update at the end of July, you're going to see some significant changes to these maps. On the next one, then, again, the construction footprint, we're almost there. We just have a couple of parcels to close within the Oxbow ring levy area. And again, I'm very confident that those will close. A couple of them are associated with the Broadshogs, and a couple of them are with another property owner that we're in active negotiations with. And of course, in the UMA footprint, we're sitting just below that 50% mark, but you'll see that tick up a little bit by the next months. We have secured most of the southern embankment. Again, you're seeing a few of those that were remaining for those to be closed on. Upstream mitigation is just a repeat of the previous slides, and we continue to work on those environmental monitoring easements. I'm going to have you scroll to the next one, Peggy. Some key activities, we do continue to negotiate settlement agreements with existing eminent domain actions. I have one at 4:15 today, so say a little prayer for this morning girl that she can make it through the evening. The two final diversion channel parcels, as I noted, have closed. In the last month, we have closed on several of the ones, as already noted, on SE2B. And then we are starting the release of temporary construction easement. So that's over on the Southern Embankment Reach 1. That should be a very good sign to this board that we are completing some of the construction. The Corps is handing that back over to us. Those letters did go out this week to those property owners, and we're starting to go through and evaluate all the temporary construction easements to determine if we can release any of those early. Again, the biggest factor within the upstream mitigation area is that those will go back into egg production. And so I know if a lot of the property owners, as soon as they see construction starting to wrap up, they are contacting us, asking when those can be released. We're partnering with the Corps to have a formal process to engage with the property owners and get that back into production as soon as possible. And then the final bullet, that's really just for awareness. We did have several parcels that were in the forest mitigation. Those went under contract with the Corps. There was a protest with that bid. We had already taken those out of our mowing and weeding contract. We had to add them back into the contract. The contract does allow us to do this. Just for transparency with the board, the estimated cost of that, if we have to go ahead and manage those parcels through the summer, will be approximately $90,000. So we're hopeful that the Corps will be able to work through their process and get their contractor back out there, so they'll be managing it and planting some trees. So any questions on the update?
No, but, well, I'll ask, but I do want to commend you, Jody, and your staff, Madeline and Jessica, for all the hard work that went into acquiring the land for the channel, and to Eric Dodds and his team at AE2S and the land agents and the appraisers. It's a lot of people that went into the work to make sure that we got up to 100%. So thank you, gratitude and appreciation. With that, Mayor Mahoney.
Just as at Cass County Planning Commission today, and there were some concerns about weeds and the weeds in the channel and such like that. Curious if we do have a contract to take care of that, and just the farmer was concerned. Roger probably knows more about this when weeds get out of control, what its difficulties they're having. But was just curious, in our lands, do we have a contract or something that takes care of that?
So Chairwoman and Mayor Mahoney and members of the board, we do. And in fact, before the Cass County Joint Board meeting was able to start, I was able to contact the lands team over at our VA. They sent a partner out there. They went ahead and they had actually tilled that up and mowed that in that area. What we were able to determine is that most of those weeds were sitting outside the project right away, and they were actually in the footprint of one of these forest mitigation sites. So Madeline did send a message over to JT Lawn Services and ensure that they're getting out there and managing them. So it's very helpful when we hear that feedback and understand specifically kind of where they're talking about. But I think when we do hear, we were able to kind of mobilize everybody within about an hour of notification that there were weeds out in that area. So,
Manager Olson.
Chairwoman, I would like to second your congratulations to our team. They've put a huge effort in a very difficult situation. And the land agents being the contact for us to the landowners have just treated them kindly. And I report back that we've been fair, friendly, and flexible. And that's been our mission since we started this. And we've really continued that. So thank you again, all the way from land agents to the legal, to Jody. Just thank you again.
Any other comments or questions on this item? Okay, seeing none, moving on to 9B.
So the next agenda item is going to be the recommendation for two parcels to move through the excess lands policy. You have 9191Y, which is the 69.9 acres. That has about 3.5 acres, a temporary construction easement still sitting on it. We're hopeful that that will be released fairly soon. And of course, 9741Y, which is 9.49 acres. Peggy, if you'll skip down to the map that shows where it's at. So this particular parcel, we purchased almost a decade ago for a little over $5,200 an acre, and we're looking for approval to sell it at $8,500 an acre. One of the reasons we're bringing this forward to you today is because there's going to be an access concern once that southern embankment reached 3 that you're seeing just below that in that green hashed area. The access to this parcel will be removed when that construction starts next year. The previous property owner has expressed interest in purchasing this back. If he is able to purchase this back, he does have access. That is his residential location right there in the middle of it. And so he has active access there. But again, if anybody else leases this from us or purchases it from us, we are going to have to put in a culvert and a new access point coming off of 174th right there. We do estimate that cost to be $15,000. So if the previous property owner purchases it, we won't need to commit to that. If somebody else does purchase it, then we will reduce the price by $15,000 and allow them to kind of work through that process of getting a new access point there. Are there any questions on this particular parcel?
So any questions? Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion to approve this item.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, could I get a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Mayor Dodges.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Yes.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Ebinger.
Aye.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherling.
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg.
Aye.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Salzweedl.
Aye.
And that is everyone.
Thank you, and that motion carries. Moving on to 9C.
So this one, I think, is still in that 9741Y. This again is excess land that we're holding onto. It's a small triangle just abutting right up to the channel. We are going to continue to have an access issue with this as well. If we don't sell this to one of the property owners, we'll either need to work with the township or the contractor to ensure access is guaranteed to this. We do estimate the cost of that access to be anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. So hopefully one of the neighboring property owners will be interested in owning this. If memory serves me right, it's a little over 9 acres out there. And again, we're recommending the sale of this at $8,500 an acre.
Motion to approve?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Mayor Dodges.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Yes.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Ebinger.
Aye.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherling.
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg.
Aye.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Salzweedl.
Aye.
That is everyone.
Thank you, and that motion carries as well.
So this last one is just going to be an update. I know there was a recommended motion within your board packet. There was a healthy discussion yesterday at the Lands Committee meeting and also mentioned at the Cass County Joint Board meeting this morning. This is part of the rail corridor that we purchased going through the city of Horace. The yellow and the red portion are just the rail corridor. That purple and the blue at the top then are the Horace Green elevator and rail corridor. When reviewing this internally, we try to look at what market value would be. We had the appraisal done on that northern portion, so the 7234A, so it'd be the blue and the purple. That appraisal for just that section of that land came back at just over $1 million. The rail corridor portion, which is going to be on the further eastern side of it, was estimated at about $8.15 per square foot. And then the yellow and the red down below ranged anywhere from $2.75 to a little over $6 a square foot. Most of this is zoned as agriculture right now. My understanding is how rail corridors typically are zoned going through a city. A little bit of it is zoned as old town zoning, which is a little bit newer for me. But what the discussion was is, this might call for an exception to the excess lands policy. Some of you may recall we did approve an exception to the excess lands policy a couple years ago as it related to the organic land sitting over on the Minnesota side. And so the recommendation coming out of the Lands Committee yesterday was to go ahead and have the staff work on an exception and bring it back through, whether it be in July or August, for approval by this board to allow us to take this directly for public sale instead of going through the policy, which again, if you don't recall, goes first to the member entities, then it would go to the previous property owner, which would be BNSF, then it would go to the neighboring property owners, and then it would go up for public sale. So we kind of skip some of those intermediary steps, and we'd work internally then to determine who would be the best to go ahead and put this up for public sale. We currently have a contract with Pfeiffer's that allows them to represent us. We could always hire a commercial realtor as well. So just an update, don't need any action from the board, but just want you to be able to kind of anticipate that this exception will be coming forward in the upcoming months.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Questions, Commissioner Grinberg?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jody, quick question. With the purple, the 815 a square foot as appraised, is that assumption then with those elevators and everything intact?
That's correct, Commissioner Grinberg. And so, Peggy, if you can kind of draw out to Main Avenue, there's another portion there from that purple to Main Avenue. There's a little triangle that's not highlighted. I feel like I should just grab this. And so if you look at the grain elevator portion, it drops down like this and it comes over. So this portion that's in the purple, the Cass County joint purchase, they purchased the rail quarter, and the MFDA purchased this small triangle here. So this is actually valued closer to about $12 a square foot. It's the rail quarter that's sitting at that $8 a square foot. So that it's $1,025,000 that was provided to me. That does include it being intact. There is some value that was estimated by our appraisers of all the material that would be in the grain elevator. There's a lot of salvage that goes on with some of the older wood and the metal, and they did estimate the value of that being about $175,000. So remediation of the site would cost some, but there's also value sitting there. And so our hope is that whoever purchased this then could either repurpose the structure or they could use some of the material that would be inside of it.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, this was just a update from Ms. Smith, so thank you very much, and good luck at 4:15.
Thank you.
So going back to the first page, I'm going up to number 5. This is our co-executive director's report, and it looks like Mr. Wilson is going to give it today. I'll turn it over to you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Robert Wilson, co-executive director for you. My colleague, Mike Redlinger, and I are going to split up the report this afternoon. He's going to give the update on the executive director job description and search, and I'm going to provide the update on the employee handbook transition. Before I do that, I wanted to reference a comment of Mayor Mahoney's at the beginning of the meeting about the comment about weeds in some of the properties. The county noxious weed officer stopped by my office about mid-morning, had mentioned that he had just received the same report, and they were on their way out to try to identify the exact location, because at that point it was just a first phone call, and from the update you heard a few moments ago, it sounds like in a matter of hours we've identified where those weeds actually were, what side of the property line, so to speak, they may have been on, and have a plan. And so I would just second the feedback that we're being extremely responsive in that point. So just wanted to make that point before I move on.
It's great to hear the county employees are as good as our city employees. Thank you, Robert.
We don't take a back seat to anybody. We at the Board of Authority meeting last month, the board directed the co-executive directors to work with Cass County Human Resources to develop an HR transition plan for the employees of the Diversion Authority and bring that back. And I just wanted to report the activity that we've had to date. You do have a copy of the proposed transition plan in your packet that was presented for this meeting. A draft of that plan was developed early on after the last meeting. That draft was shared with both the planning committee. That draft was also shared with Diversion employees in the last month, a meeting that was attended by the Cass County Human Resources Director, Chair Carlson, Mr. Redlinger, and myself. That draft was updated by the planning committee. And the document that you have in front of you is the draft that would complete that and be the transition plan that we would ask you to consider this afternoon. I do have a suggested motion that I can read at the appropriate time, but I would certainly stand by for any questions.
Are there any questions from any of the board members? Mayor Mahoney?
Not aware, but you have a performance review on an annual basis? Is that the county policy?
The county does have a employee review, a performance review on an annual basis. Part of this plan is developing a step and grade compensation matrix. I would say all of those matrices that I'm aware of build in as a component of that an annual review as a condition of being the step.
As I'm understanding, the director would be reviewed by the chair, and then it's all other employees would be, performance evaluation would be done by you and Michael?
I would anticipate that is exactly correct. That in line with a typical department where an employee would be reviewed by their supervisor or the department head. Yes.
So,
And, well, Mayor Mahoney, I would maybe offer that this is for the employees of the diversion. The director is a contracted position versus the employees are hired and would be under the Cass County policy. I would imagine Mr. Shockley might be able to provide some insight into the differences between the executive director and the contract and
more of my concern is in our previous relationship, what happened is the director reviewed the employees and we didn't have a performance evaluation, nor did we follow county rules. So I just wanted to make sure that, quote, the employees now under the new structure will still be performance review and evaluation by Michael and Robert, and it would not be the director that would be doing performance evaluations.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair, Mayor Mahoney, whoever is in the executive director position, I would anticipate is performing the performance appraisal on all diversion authority employees. The chair, as you indicate, the chair would be responsible for the review for the executive director. The executive director would review the employees.
But part of the issue we ran into is that if you follow county policy, there's certain things you do according to city policy, certain things we do. And it would be apparent to me that you would want to make sure that whatever the county's usually policy, that's what we would follow. There were some cost of living increases given that didn't follow county policy. So all I'm trying to clarify is whoever's doing the employee evaluations, with that I'm assuming, Robert, you're saying it will follow county policy.
Yes, the performance review follows that process. The compensation and the COLA determination, the step determination, that is part of what's laid out in this transition plan. And there's a full compensation section on this transition plan.
Yeah, so this year, until a new executive director is hired, you and Michael would be doing
Yes.
and implementing any of the COLAs, and once the matrix is done, then any performance increases that would fall into place at that time.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other questions or comments related to this agenda item? If not, we'd be looking for a motion, and maybe, Robert, if you could read what that motion would be.
Certainly, the suggested motion would be consider motion to adopt as presented the plan to transition diversion employees to the Cass County Employee Handbook.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Commissioner Campbell.
Yeah, thank you. In our planning committee, there was the issue in regards to current employees and where they had banked vacation hours. How does that stand under this policy?
Mr. Wilson?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Campbell, the way this stands right now is that current employees do not have, under the current plan that they are operating on, do not have a cap of PTO that they have. Under the Cass County plan, they do, and that cap is 240 hours. And the transition would be that there would be no cap that would be enforced at the end of 24 into 25. It would be enforced under county policy at the end of 25 into 26. So there's essentially 18 months to transition to the county policy there.
Commissioner Campbell, do you?
Yeah, I just want to follow up, because one of the concerns that could be is that, there might be a couple of those positions where, during all this land acquisitions and trials and all that kind of stuff, they might not be able to take that time. And that was my question, is 2025 good enough? Or if we're at the end of 2025 and they haven't been able to, because of their job duties, to use that time that they built up, some of them that could have 400 hours, 480 hours for all I know. But if their job doesn't allow them to take it, and we're going to say, okay, by the end of 2025, you just lose it all, I think we have to have some sort of compensation for them for that. And we had talked about that, and whether it's extended to 2026 or else being able to pay them the value of that time that they would end up having to give up.
And I don't know if you want to address that, Mr. Wilson. I know that one of the considerations that came into the discussion was in transitioning to this plan is they previously had 4 personal days that they were able to take. And without those personal days, then they would need to start utilizing the vacation time versus the 4 days before they would go into the vacation time, if that makes sense. So that was one of the considerations taken into place, and I know that there were some other considerations that Mr. Wilson and Mr. I keep wanting to say Ebinger, Redlinger, had talked about with having them allowed to be able to continue to accrue at a leave that normally wouldn't be at that level under the Cass County policy based on their years of service, but that they would be able to be grandfathered in to get an increased number of hours. So if they weren't able to use it, they would still have a significant number of hours to use. I don't know if I'm explaining that accurately, but Mr. Wilson, if maybe you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Campbell, I would have explained that essentially the same way, is that under the policy that Diversion Authority employees have been operating under, they advance to increased numbers of leave hours quicker than they do within the county system. Current employees are grandfathered into that quicker acceleration. And knowing that that construction is a busy time, and that is that's a challenging element of this transition, absolutely. But the trade-off, as Chair Carlson mentioned, is that at some point there will be an end of construction, and we certainly hope that as that we have long-term employees that are with the authority for a long period of time, and post-construction they will still have the benefit of that accelerated leave accrual practice and be accruing leave at a higher rate than the new employees coming on, and we certainly hope using that and enjoying that and that was one of the choices that was made as you put together a plan to move from one system to another. Certainly recall the conversation at planning, but in taking all of the input in and trying to boil it down to a plan, that was one of the decisions that was made. And if this board would like an element of that plan to change, we certainly will be responsive to that.
I just want to know if I'm voting on the potential for some of our employees who had banked hours of vacation pay under a plan that they were presented under, if at some point in time, those vacation hours are going to be taken away from them without compensation.
We can't.
That's my question. Because if that's what we're voting on, I won't support it.
Commissioner Peterson.
Mayor, thank you. Commissioner, within our Cass County policy, we actually have an exemption for that. So what would happen at the end of the year, and we've done it before in the past internally at Cass, what essentially happens is the department head approaches the administration and says, in this case would be to the chair and this board, and says, let's pretend, picking numbers out of the air because I don't know where our staff is, let's pretend we have someone who's at 360 hours, maximum of 240. The director would ask this board to create an exemption for that individual person. We can't legally take away their money anyway, but regardless, within our policy, we already have the ability for us as a board to say, yes, should for whatever circumstances this person can't take a vacation in the next year, we simply vote, let them extend it into perpetuity if we wanted to. So it happens not all the time, but I'd say within my 12 years, and Commissioner Sherling back me up on this if I'm wrong, I'm thinking half the time, we have one employee or two employees that simply, your example's perfect. We're too busy to take the vacation. We accrued it. We've been here 20 years.
Right.
It's not fair to us as a talking in our case, county commission, to take that away from them in lieu of a compensation or something. But point being, within our policy, we have an exemption already in place to allow this board to make that choice for them with them.
All right, well, then that's comforting to know that at least it's, gives them a fighting chance to keep what they have. So,
It's up to this board.
right.
Any further comments or questions? Mayor Dardis.
So I understand the policy. You never buy out the hours. You extend it to the next calendar year for them to utilize it as they can. But you don't buy it out?
We can do either, but we've never done that. We've always extended the vacation time forward.
That really answers, I think, Mr. Campbell's question.
And
Thank you.
we've never said no.
And so either option would be at this board's discretion.
100%. And that's within our policy manual right now.
That's it.
Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, Mr. Wilson, have you been able to determine how many employees we have that this may be a concern over?
Having just checked with our HR director this afternoon to verify this, if you look at page 2 on the policy here, where we list 0 to 5 year employees, 8 hours of annual leave, 6 to 14, 12 hours, 15 plus 16 hours. We have a couple of cases where employees would have been hired in the equivalent to director positions, and they were granted 12 hours of annual leave at the time of employment. They will keep that. They will keep that. No, and again, current accrual rates will be grandfathered. Nobody's going back in what they earn. Mayor Mahoney.
I think his question is how many employees the Diversion Authority right now have numbers greater than 240?
There you go.
Yeah.
So, Madam Chair, Commissioner Ebinger, my apologies. I believe the number is small. I want to say 1 or 2, but it is not significantly above 240, if I'm believe.
And I think what Kevin is saying, let's manage those two people well. I think, Kevin, if it went to 26, wouldn't bother me at all. But if Chad says it's discretion, it could be managed, then we could manage it. Yeah. And I can see one employee, once land is done, that person wouldn't really stay on, but might have a lot of vacation accumulated, doing a great job, and we wouldn't want to not reward them for doing a great job. But you're saying that can be managed through county policy, and you will manage it in a good fashion. I'm comfortable then with your plan is excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and I wouldn't want to assume that one of our employees isn't going to stay on after construction. There's going to still be a lot to do. So, Commissioner Campbell.
Yeah, well, thank you. Just one last thing. So, when we talk about how many might qualify under that, The concern goes back, from my standpoint, goes back to the workload that they're going to have over the next 24 to even longer months. When we have our land agents who every little land piece that you saw there is under eminent domain, there's an awful lot of stuff that goes involved with that when it comes to time and preparing for court and everything else. And you know what? They don't get to decide when those eminent domain hearings are going to be. The judges decide when those things are going to be. And so all of a sudden, they no longer have the flexibility to take a vacation when they want to. And the last thing we need to do is be suggesting to them that they could potentially lose vacation time. I think that would just not sit well.
Well, and
anyway.
and to address your comment to Commissioner Campbell, I know that when I learned of the policy in Cass County that the director has the ability to come to the board and make the request to either maybe buy out anything over the 240 or extend it for a period of time that has been determined between the director and that employee. I know that made me feel a lot better that those folks would not lose those hours. And it's just going to be the responsibility of that director to have those conversations with the employees. And I know that the incoming chair is, sitting right here. So, he'll be able to make note of that, and the rest of us that are going to be on the board as well, that at the end of next year, we would need to just make sure that the director, whoever is hired, we bring that to that person's attention.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Wilson.
Two last comments, just because I want to be abundantly clear on 2 points. I want to make sure to Commissioner Campbell's question that your question of, is there any scenario that a current employee could lose vacation time in the next 6 months? No, that cap does not exist at the end of 24. At the end of 25, under this plan, it would exist. So that scenario is a possibility at the end of 2025, 18 months from now. So I want to be 100% clear on that. And then the other point that I just wanted to mention on county policy of what the request has been with some scattered regularity, I would say, is that if a department head knows of somebody in their department that cannot get under that 240 cap by the end of the year, they can apply to the commission for an extension. And per policy, that is an extension of 90 days. Gives you an extra 3 months to use that into the new year. Now, we have had some individual commission actions several times in the last couple of years to act and resolve those in other ways. But the policy is to extend that for an additional 90 days to use if that is applied to the commission.
But there's still discretion of this board, according to what Mr. Peterson has said.
Yes.
So it could be more than that, or it could be a buyout of those hours, right?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Correct. Any additional questions or comments? Mayor Mahoney.
I just want to be clear on that. If you're following county policy, when you say this board, is it when you're talking about the discretionary ability to do that goes to Cass County Board? Are we saying in our contract Shakti has here, this comes to this board? Is that correct?
This board. It would be this board.
Because I think there was confusion before. We thought it was under the county policy, pay scale and everything, but it really wasn't. We're following the guidelines of the county policy, but this board has the authority to make any changes. Okay, thank you.
Correct. Any additional questions or comments? All right, hearing none, why don't we do a roll call vote on this, please, Don?
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Yes.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Ebinger.
Aye.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Sherling,
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg,
Aye.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Selzerwald.
Aye.
And that is everyone.
His salary change.
Actually, Mr. Wilson,
Your board
do you want to come back? There was one other discussion point and recommendation that came out of the planning committee that was related to the transition plan, and that was related to the COLA. One of it, there is one of the employees has already received a COLA. In order for the other 5 employees to receive a COLA, we would need to make some motion by this board to move forward with the same type of COLA that that was recommended within this transition plan,
Yes.
which would be 3.2. And the recommendation from planning would be to provide that COLA to the employees on their anniversary date to keep in continuity with the policy that they had been operating under for 2024, and then in 2025 transition to the Cass County policy, which provides them a COLA at the beginning of the year. Would there be a motion to, I'd be looking for a motion to provide the 3.2% COLA to the employees on their anniversary date in 2024 and then transition to 2025 under the transition plan.
So move.
Second.
So if they already received the COLA at this point of 3%, 4%, or 5%, their total COLA for 24 could be 7, 8%?
No, it would only be for the individuals who have not yet received a COLA in 2024.
Except for the exception of the 120? If it's over 120% of what the grade and step is?
There is one, and Mr. Wilson, maybe you could clarify a little bit.
Madam Chair, Mayor Mahoney, the 120% reference is in the transition plan and comes into effect after we contract with a vendor to develop a compensation matrix. They develop that matrix, we implement that matrix, and we assign various positions to a place in the matrix. Then if depending on where current employees are relative to the assigned place in the matrix, so long as they are under 120% of what that assigned spot would be, then they would get the step and or COLA. That 120% does not come into play until matrix is developed, it's implemented, and then we're looking at COLAs after the fact. That's
I think you mean pay raises.
yes.
Pay raises, not COLA.
Thank you.
So this is you looked at everything, you feel in fairness, this is what you'd like to recommend, I'm assuming, Chair? Good.
That's what we discussed in the planning commission, so that all of the employees at the end of 2024 will have at least received their COLA. And then the other part of it is what Mr. Wilson was talking about, is developing that matrix to see where they land, and then coming back to the board to determine the step increase if that's appropriate, depending on where they land in the matrix. Commissioner
Can I,
Campbell.
just a point of clarification. So when we said everybody will receive that COLA for 2024, and you said on their anniversary date, so if their anniversary date has already happened in 2024 and they have not received, that would go into effect immediately then, is that correct? Or would it go back to that date?
Retroactively.
Retroactive? Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Yep. Other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second to provide that 3.2% COLA. Don, could I get a roll call, please?
Mayor Carlson,
Yes.
Mayor Dardis,
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney,
Aye.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson,
Yes.
Mr. Pepcorn?
Aye.
Mr. Ebinger?
Aye.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Schirling?
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Seldebold?
Aye.
And that is everyone.
Thank you. And that motion carries. Moving on to 5B, the Executive Director Next Steps. I'll turn it over to Mike Redlinger.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I'll take up item 5B. I just want to note, too, we did have a memo prepared. There was a cover memo. I'm not sure what happened, but it didn't make the packet. But it summarized a couple of items that I'll talk about at the end for a recommended action or a recommended motion as we move forward. So on May 23, we had our last discussion with the Board of Authority about your job description for the position. And since that time, we had really solicited some good input and feedback, not only from the Planning Committee, but as well as from other members. I won't read all of this information verbatim. This is in your packet located at page 205. But really what was summarized here were just some modifications the board members thought would be important to reference as we were to go out and recruit and solicit for the new executive director for the authority. Very briefly on roles and responsibilities, you'll see a discussion there about strategy, that the individual should be a strategy leader, and really prepare the project for transition. I think that what's been made clear to us, my colleague and I, as we have taken the helm over the last couple of months, is that we need to prepare for a post-construction transition. There will be an ownership and a maintenance and an operational period of time here for the project that we need to make sure that the next director is going to really be up to that task. You'll also see references there in that first bucket related to board policy, board compliance, assisting the board, and I think that's been made very clear that what we need to do is make sure that the future director is thinking about board policy, budget compliance, and really helping the board do its best work in your policy leadership for the project. In the middle of the page, the core competencies, communications was a common theme, a common topic that came up, that the next director should really possess a significant communications aptitude and really work hard to keep the board informed of progress, as well as keep the employees moving forward as an organization and as a structure. I think that your last discussion is sort of indicative of that we do have, as well as the director, a number of employees that will continue to work for the authority for years to come. And what we need to do is establish policies and procedures that support those people and support their growth and give them the certainty that they really desire for the future. And then I would also just add, there were just some other discussions about qualifications that the Planning Committee discussed. Public sector expertise is a theme and a topic that came up routinely, that whether it's a person with a master's in public administration, like a Robert, myself, people that go to graduate school to get MPAs in public administration, that it should be somebody like that has had that experience working in public sector and understands public sector limitations as well as public sector obligations to taxpayers and to our constituents that we serve. And then just a couple other comments in there too, just about continued transition, that the next individual will really help us transition from a number of consultants that are delivering on the project today and then shifting the project to that operations and maintenance. So the cover communication, and I apologize again that didn't make the packet, really had a couple of suggested motions at the end, or suggested recommendations. One was that the board authorized the co-executive directors to initiate a compensation matrix RFP that was just referenced. We think it would be good to solicit proposals. We work in that space routinely in government. Cass County does, West Fargo does, Moorhead, et cetera. We work with comp consultants regularly, and we think it's an important thing to do to try to standardize that before a new director would join the program and the activities here, that we get a good comp matrix developed. So just a solicitation for proposals for that. And then also what we would like to do, and it was referenced in the memo that is not in the packet, but come back to the board on July 25. It's your next regular meeting. If there are any additional inputs, any additional feedback points that board members would have, we would come to that meeting with the final job description that would then be advertised with your authority and with your permission in August and September. And then hopefully be moving forward with some interviews this fall for the position. So that's the rough timeline. We would all put that together in a final format for you so that you could deliberate on that. But that really is our summary of the feedback we have received to date. We're more than happy to help the board. We're here to serve the wishes of the board. This is your position, your hire, and we're here to make sure that you find the fit and you find the candidate that you think will be the best for the program and the activities. So thank you.
Move to approve.
All right, thank you, thank you, Mr. Redlinger, and thank you, Mayor Mahoney. I have a motion to approve this agenda item. And I'm assuming the motion is to approve the compensation matrix, putting out an RFP. So there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, could I get a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Yes.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mr. Ebinger.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherling.
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg.
Aye.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Selzewald.
Aye.
And that is everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Redlinger. All right, moving on to general counsel update. I'll turn this over to Mr. John Shockley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have only, from the General Counsel's position, we only have one housekeeping item for the board to consider today. That's the resolution amending the appointment of members to the Diversion Authority Board. You'll recall at the beginning of every year, the board passes this resolution. We've had some changes in the membership that is reflected on Exhibit A with respect to the Fargo members. Happy to answer any questions, but it's a housekeeping item.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. We have a motion to approve this agenda item.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, could I get a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Aye.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Hendrickson.
Yes.
Mr. Pepcorn.
No.
Mr. Ebinger.
Aye.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Shirley.
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg.
Aye.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Selzewald.
Aye.
And that is everyone.
Thank you, and that motion carries. So we will be welcoming Commissioner Kolpak to the next board meeting, and just really wish to thank Commissioner Strand for his work and dedication to this project, and for always stretching us to think about things in a different and unique manner. So appreciate his time and effort on doing the work for the diversion. Moving on to number 7, construction project updates, and I will turn the first item over to Ms. Terry Williams from the Corps.
Good afternoon, Chair Carlson and board members. I'm pleased to provide the Corps update for the month of June. With respect to the gate machinery issue, we're getting closer to negotiating the changes with the contractor, and as soon as we're done with the third, which is the diversion in it, I'll be able to report out on the time impacts and when those contracts will actually be done. I'm going to move down to number 4, the Red River structure. Gate 1 has been fully delivered and is being assembled in the gate bay, and it's pretty cool to see. Gates 2 and 3, I believe, will have started delivery or will shortly. Down to number 6, Drayton Dam. We are planning a big celebration for the completion of that project on 1 October. There's a lot of interest from the DNR, the Minnesota DNR, in contributing and being part of that celebration. We'll have, of course, the North Dakota agencies involved as well, and the Diversion Authority. Number 7, Southern Embankment Reach, SE2A. That contractor has not started work yet, and they are required to submit a recovery schedule to us by 2 July. We want to make sure that they are done by 13 October or shortly thereafter, as the contract currently requires. Moving on to our contract awards that we made in '24. The OHB ring levy, there's drone footage of that. The construction has begun. Reach SC1B, same. They're building SC1B as well. SC2B, constructing that's covered in the drone footage. And I'd like to thank the lands team and Cass County Joint for securing the remaining lands for SC2B. we're able to move forward with awarding the last $18 million worth of work to Zavrel because the lands have been secured, so thank you. SC4, we awarded that at the end of May. Notice to proceed was issued yesterday, and that allows the contractor to start work. The force mitigation, as Ms. Smith was talking about, we had a bid protest. GAO is where they filed the protest. They have 100 days to issue a decision, so that takes us well into August before we might know what the outcome of that protest is. Moving on to number 9, we are absolutely in the last stages of design of the final 2 pieces of the southern embankment, 3 and 5, and we plan to award those in January. And with that, that's my report, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Any questions from the board? All right, we don't have any today. Thank you. 7B, I will turn it over to our engineer director, Chris Bachigard.
Thanks, Madam Chair, members of the board. Quick update today on channel construction. You see the bullets in the map. Just a couple of highlights I want to note for those on the southern end. SE2B, as Terry said, did get started. For those that travel that way, County Road 16 is closed by St. Benedict now, so traffic is being detoured there to build the up and over for the embankment. And then a couple other highlights. We have started on the very north end. Our RVA started doing permanent seeding this last week now that things are drying out. So that's another good step in finalizing the northern end of the channel. BNSF Hillsboro is on the shoe fly now. So they are beginning construction of the railroad bridge north of town near I-29. And if you're traveling east and or west out of town, you'll notice that we now are operating on the bypasses at I-94. So they're also starting construction there. And you'll see most of that in the drone update, but just the highlights on construction. Since Commissioner Pepcorn's back today, I need to correct my numbers from a couple months ago. Commissioner Pepcorn, we are actually nearing about 45% done with the overall project. At the time, I grabbed, I think, a 25% number for you, and that was based on the current channel progress, but not the overall progress. So I just misstated that. So just wanted to correct that. But so making good progress on the overall construction as well. So with that, I stand for any questions anybody might have on the construction update.
Thank you, Mr. Bachigard. Any questions or comments for Mr. Bachigard? No?
Great.
No.
Real quick safety update. No recordable events, just a few minor first aid ones. So nothing major this last month on the channel program. No recordables on either of our other programs as well, the core or the in-town work, or the authority projects or the City of Fargo project, sorry. So I don't know if there's much there, but just any questions on the safety update. Pretty clean report this month, which is good news.
All right, thank you. Move on to 7D.
More than 24 FM area diversion project sites are under construction right now. I'm Tom Fuchs, Senior Construction Manager for the Metro Flood Diversion Authority, with some of those construction highlights. ASN Constructors has now started portions of work at all of the 19 road and railroad crossings that will span the stormwater diversion channel. This month, precast concrete girders are being installed at the County Road 20 crossing north and west of the FM Metro. More than 500 girders will be necessary to complete all bridges and crossings constructed as part of the stormwater diversion channel. Travelers on I-94 west of the metro area have noticed ramp and lane closures recently as ASN constructs bypasses. These were paved this month and traffic is now routed on the bypasses. Work continues in the area as the remaining lanes will be tied in and mainline reconstruction commences. North and west of Harwood, North Dakota, trains have also begun running on the completed bypass, called the shoe fly. After the existing ballast and track are removed, ASM will begin to excavate and drive piles for the new crossing at the site. Nearby at I-29, where traffic was bypassed last year, we can see bridge substructure work now well underway for the new crossings in both the north and southbound directions. Work can also be observed on Reach 13 of the Stormwater Diversion Channel. It's one of 9 reaches currently under construction for the 30-mile channel. The many rainy days in recent weeks slowed excavation of the clay soil, but ASN still moved about 400,000 cubic yards of material in the past month, bringing them close to 21 million cubic yards that have been excavated so far. Things are taking shape at the Maple River Aqueduct as well. ASN is continuing to place concrete for the pier and abutment walls and the adjacent wing wall footings. We can also see false work, a temporary structure in place for the first segments of the aqueduct flume. Once completed, the Maple River will flow across the aqueduct flume as the diversion channel flows in the conduits below it. Heating elements will assist in fish passage during winter months. As we move south of the metro area, we can see work being done by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. On the 22-mile southern embankment, work recently began on Reach SE2B, which lies near the Wild Rice River structure. R.J. Zavarol and Sons, the Corps of Engineers contractor there, is beginning to strip topsoil, excavate, and backfill the inspection trench. It's also preparing to construct the initial portions of the embankment spanning from County Road 16 south to the tie-in to the Wild Rice River structure. Earthwork also is just beginning on a ring levee that will protect the Oxbow-Hickson-Baki community. Close to 500,000 cubic yards will be excavated and placed to construct the remaining 2 miles of ring levee system north and west of County Road 81. Those are highlights of just some of the many components under construction this summer. Follow the MFDA on social media to see more progress.
All right. Moving on to number 8 is our communications team update, and I'll turn this over to Amy.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. Our newsletter continues to really draw a lot of strong interest. It's performing well above industry averages. With last month, we had a chance to highlight Captain Kyle Volk and some of the core work in that newsletter. We also learned this past week that an educational video we produced last year on how the P3 funding and financing was managed placed first in a national contest. So it's nice to see that we're hopefully doing the right thing here in how we're educating. We also had a couple of construction update videos. These are ones the crew grabs while they're out doing drone footage, so we can provide some supplemental updates on all of the construction that's taking place. For media relations, we continue to send our monthly construction updates, and then ASN has also been communicating about the I-94 detours as they were building the bypass. That's all I have today, but I'm always happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Amy? No, we don't have any. Thank you. All right, moving on to finance update. I'll turn that over to Mayor Doris.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Finance Committee met yesterday. Bills that were submitted for the last reporting period were $3,757,532.04. Our financial reports, our net position is $268,302,987. And I'd also note that thus far on the program budget, the entire program budget, the Metro Flood Diversion Authority has spent $1,080 million. That's all I have. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions or comments? I know one comment I wanted to make in regards to finance was that we also received a clean audit from Eide Bailey, so I think that that is important to note as well. Moving on, we do not have any other business that I'm aware of, so our next meeting will be July 25th, 2024. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a second? Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.